We all rely on farmers and ranchers, but farming is riskier than other businesses out there. Crop insurance helps farmers manage their risk. With crop insurance, farmers put skin in the game by paying premiums and shouldering deductibles. That keeps taxpayers from having to pick up the whole bill every time disaster strikes. Today, about 90% of U.S. farmland is insured, providing $100 billion in protection to more than 130 different kinds of crops. It's a testament to the program's success.
Welcome back to Washington Week in Review. I'm Corinne LaRue and this is Phil Brasher. I'm filling in this week for Spencer Chase. And wow, what a week. What a week. From Kennedy's resignation from the Supreme Court all the way to the Senate Farm Bill passing 86-11, we had some drama behind the scenes and almost nothing went on the Senate floor before the Farm Bill. Phil?
Yeah, there was, it was pretty remarkable. 86-11 vote on the bill finally. You have to go back to, I dug through the votes, and it was 1973 before I could find a margin of quite that size. I mean, farm bills typically are bipartisan. There have been a few exceptions to that, 1996 being the most notable one. But this was remarkable in that it passed by that large a margin. You talked about what went on behind the scenes. There was an effort to have a vote on crop insurance, impose a means test on crop insurance. That actually didn't wind up because of the negotiations that we didn't see. That didn't wind up getting a vote. There was also discussions about Cuba and putting restrictions on what kind of USDA money could be spent in Cuba. That got settled as well.
All right, and so can you explain to me why it is so lopsided this time around?
Well, I think there are several things going on. One, this was a very bipartisan bill. The chairman of the Senate Agriculture Committee, Pat Roberts, and the ranking member, Debbie Stabenow, had worked very closely for months in developing this bill. And they worked again on the Senate floor in protecting it. So Democrats got a lot in this bill, and Republicans did as well. So there was a lot for them to like. And the politics have changed too. There are a number of Democratic seats up in major farm states like North Dakota, Indiana, Montana. Democrats are redoubling their efforts to try to appeal to rural America. And then you have farm prices are down. There's the anxiety about President Trump's trade policy. So all of these things, I think, were factors to some extent. And the result was an 86-11 vote.
All right, and can you explain to me, I mean, there was a big difference between the House passing their farm bill and the Senate passing theirs. Phil, tell me a little bit about that difference.
Yeah, it was a week ago we were talking about the House bill. It just barely squeaked through on the second try, 213 to 211. The dynamics, the politics were very different in the House. The chairman of House Agriculture Committee, Mike Conaway, had a very different challenge. Only this year than 5 years ago. Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, very much wanted to use this bill to do reforms to the food stamp program, SNAP. He insisted that they be in there, in tightening work requirements. And Chairman Conaway not only had to address that, he also had to bring onto the bill as many of the hardline conservatives in the House who don't really have that much of an interest in the farm bill. He had to get them to vote for it because it was going to be a Republican-only vote if he did this welfare reform as part of it. So he had a very different situation in the House. And he doesn't have the 60-vote requirement, the supermajority requirement that the Senate has. So he got it across the finish line last week. The Senate's across the finish line now. All that matters now is getting putting those two bills together and negotiating a final version that the president will sign.
All right, so we are halfway through the year.
Right.
And September 30th is when that 2014 Farm Bill expires. how soon do you think the House and Senate will be able to start negotiations?
Well, formally, they won't get started until after next week. Congress is in recess for July the 4th, so there won't be the formal votes to start the conference committee, to go to conference and start those proceedings. However, I talked to House Ag Chairman Conaway yesterday. On Thursday, he said that he was going to have his staff work with the Senate staff as soon as next week to start identifying areas where they need to work out differences and where they may have some fairly easy compromises to make. Low-hanging fruit was the term that he used. So, and a lot of the work, there's a lot of that work that has to go on before the members of the conference committee actually make the decisions on the toughest issues.
And let's take a minute to touch back on Justice Kennedy's resignation from the Supreme Court. What impact did he have on farmers and ranchers, and what impact do you foresee in the future?
Well, with his replacement, the biggest impact, probably direct impact, and farmers, and I'm sure most producers are not aware of this, of Justice Kennedy's role here, but he wrote a pivotal opinion on the Clean Water Act back in 2005, which the Obama administration then picked up and used to write what is known now as the WOTUS rule, the very controversial rule that we've talked a lot about on this show. And the Obama administration and the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers wrote their rule to with Justice Kennedy in mind, on the assumption if the rule was challenged, which it would be and was, and went back to the Supreme Court, that they would have Justice Kennedy's pivotal vote. Well, now Justice Kennedy is gone. He's going to be replaced by a presumably much more conservative justice. And you have the Trump administration, which is writing a new WOTUS rule, which will probably be challenged as well and may wind up back in the Supreme Court. You're going to have a different makeup of the Supreme Court. Presumably, it's going to change the equation when a new WOTUS rule gets there.
All right, well, that's all for Washington Week in Review this week. Everyone here at Agri-Pulse wishes you a wonderful and safe 4th of July holiday. We will be back with you in 2 weeks' time. For Phil Brasher, I'm Corinne LaRue.